Good afternoon, everyone. I have something very serious to talk to you about today, and that is that I have purchased a new car for drifting, and it's really exciting to me and really important, and I think you're going to love it. So follow me over here, we'll take a look. It's nestled under this cover. So when you think about me, who I am, Asphalt Anarchy, kind of what we've brought to the sport, you think about things like V8, probably more than likely LS. You think about American, good old, hot, nasty, badass speed, as Eleanor Roosevelt said. And that's probably the first things that come to mind. And what kinds of cars do you think about when you think about American and V8? I'll show you. It's also different. We think about different things when we come to Asphalt Anarchy. You think about G-bodies. This is a 1984 Monte Carlo minus the windshield. I know, very exciting. So the funny thing is, this is not my new car for Formula Drift, but I did buy it kind of to make a drift car out of. I've sold it since then. We'll make another video about kind of what the fate of this car is going to be, but we'll go inside now. And I bought another car too. Well, if you didn't like the first car, you probably won't like this one either. But this is, in fact, my new competition drift car. It was in a small fire. It's nothing to be concerned about, nothing alarming. You can't really see out the windshield. It's still here. You probably didn't want to see the dash or the seat that I'm sitting in. It smells like it was in a fire, because it was. But now I'm gonna get out. We're gonna walk around it. I'll tell you what it is, how I got it, where I got it, and maybe some of what our plans are for it. So, nestled behind me here, in all seriousness, is a C6 Corvette. Not an RX-7 that you might have thought when you first looked at it, because I have seen people get them confused. This is, in fact, a Corvette. Obviously, these have risen in popularity recently. There's a lot of people that have made these drift cars. Obviously Matt Field has shown that these are viable platforms at the top level in Formula Drift. Dirk Stratton kind of brought these to the forefront initially, and it kind of checks all the boxes for what I look for in a drift car. It's American, it's easy to put an LS into it, and it's kind of on brand for us, I think. So we're gonna work with some of our partners, try and develop this car, develop some of their offerings for these cars, and try and build something really neat. It's something that I'm really excited about. I love the fact that there's companies that make a lot of parts to just bolt on these things, and if you bend something, you just bolt on another one. It's no problem. You can just buy it off the shelf, and that's the kind of stuff that we're excited about. Not that I don't love the Cadillac, I just don't love that every time I touch the wall in a Cadillac, I have to make parts for it. I'm a little tired of doing all the R&D for everything, so it's kind of weird timing, because now I've pretty much R&D'd everything on the Cadillac, and I know how to do it all, and I have spares. But regardless, Cadillac's a great drift car. We just want to do something new and exciting and challenging, and we think that this Corvette is the answer for what that is. So I'll take you around it, tell you some plans for it, and what we're gonna do. So up here is where you, in some cars, may have found the engine that I run in the Cadillac, which is an LS7, or at least an LS7 based engine. This is not that car. This is not a Z06 car, which is all that the LS7s came in. This one had an LS3 in it, and basically we're gonna try and just run a carbon copy of our engine setup. There's gonna be some challenging things that we're gonna have to try and do. We're gonna be doing some interesting stuff with the transmissions and all that. I know that's something that some of you will be wondering how we're gonna do. We're gonna kind of take a deep dive into that on some later videos. I can't tell you for 100% what our plans are. I know where my mind's at, and I think it's gonna be neat, it's gonna be unique, it's gonna be something you have not seen before, and maybe it won't work. I don't know, but we'll be the first to find out, and I think it'll be something that other people will do to follow suit if it does work, so stay tuned on that for later videos. But the cool thing about these, as I said before, Yellow Speed makes shocks that bolt right onto this thing. We're developing with them a little bit more drift specific coilover, but that's going to be really good. There's some great companies that we're hoping to work with on front suspension as far as like an angle kit and rear stuff. So we haven't quite settled on what we're going to do or who we're going to work with on that, but send in your resumes. We're looking for partners on those. The front end stuff as far as the motor mounts and all is obviously really convenient because these cars came with LSs in them. So once again, you can just buy off the shelf parts, fiberglass for the front end, for the quarters and the hatch and the doors, or carbon fiber or even carbon Kevlar, is all options. We're going to be looking at all that and starting to order parts for it here soon, and excited about how the car is going to kind of come together and look. Don't really have a livery in mind yet, kind of going to depend on how next year starts to unfold, but we're certain that it's going to be on brand and it'll be cool. So now we'll go around and take a look in the interior. So right here we have where someone probably became a third-degree burn victim. It looks like, before I pulled the dash out and everything, that there was an interior fire that started somewhere under the dash, maybe in the gauge cluster. All this, I don't know, probably has some aids in there, probably some hair. There was quite the fire. It was not like a small little, campfire or, candlelight vigil. There was quite the inferno going on inside this car, to the point where you can't even see out of the windshield anymore. And it was not a good situation for the owner / driver, I'm quite certain. Fortunately, it didn't get anything that was super important to the structural integrity of the car. It was just dash, computers, the windshield, obviously, everything with the seats, the headliner, stuff that we probably would have replaced anyway, honestly. So we've pulled most of that out. We're going to finish stripping it out. We're going to bolt in some O&P racing seats and a steering wheel, and we'll see what we're going to do on pedals. I don't think that we'll probably end up running the stock setup, but this thing, once again, has a ton of stuff that you can just buy off the shelf and bolt into this car. Further reason why we want to go with this chassis, because it's easy. So we got to figure out what we're going to do with the cooling, and yeah, let's go around to the back end. So for the rear end of the car, all this will be aftermarket fiberglass, carbon fiber, carbon Kevlar, I don't know. But the rear end is what we really want to take a look at here. This car is still kind of in its factory form, where it has the monoleaf rear spring in it. It had some aftermarket G-force axles in it and spooled rear end. So somebody was doing some more hardcore spirited driving with this thing even before I got it, which maybe is what ultimately led to its demise. But regardless, we're going to be putting a winner's quick change in this, I'm sure. We're going to be having some adjustable upper and lower control arms, obviously some Yellow Speed shocks. We'll change that out, like I say, for the winters, fill it up with liquid moly, make it last. And not sure what we're going to do yet for brakes and hubs and spindles. All that will come later, but we're very much in the infancy of this project. I'm looking forward to having Nick with Wild Child come over and help us set up with a cage in this thing. He does great work, and I can't wait to get started on the fabrication side. This is going to be a fun car. We're going to have a lot of content coming on this thing in the coming months as I develop this car. Not set for when we're going to debut it, but what I can say is we are still trying to run clutch kickers, and there's a gap, we'll say, in round 5 of clutch kickers is right between Long Beach and Irwindale of FD, so it would be really hard to get the Cadillac back from California to Florida and then back to California in that short amount of time. So it kind of gives you an idea of what maybe we have in mind. This was what we initially thought we might be doing with that Monte Carlo that I unveiled earlier, but plans change, and you go from Monte Carlos to Corvettes. I don't know what happened, but here we are. I'm excited. Stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you soon.